Check 1, 2. How is the audio? We're just waiting for people. Some of you guys who are texting me think I've been censored, which is possible. Yes, I know some of you got kicked from the video. You have to jump on to the next one. Is anybody here? Anybody here? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. How's the audio for you and me? Testing, 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 testing. We 5 by 5. Cool. I'll take it. All right. Bear with the horrible audio for just a moment while I put this sock on. And how's the audio? Mo beta? I'll take it. Yay. All right. Last audio test before I put this on. We all good? All good in the hood? Yes, no, maybe so? Cool. We'll take it. All right. Give them a few minutes to populate back up. Shredded cheese, made nothing of significant there. Diced tomatoes, tomato paste, put a little bit of honey in there, about a tablespoon and a teaspoon in there. So 1 1/3 tablespoons if you want to do it that way. Salt. Same seasonings that we did on the regular pizza. Just kind of go until your ancestors say, "Stop, child." Pepper. Onion. Put that in there. Garlic. Ground cumin. Not human, cumin with C. Not human with an H, because that, my dear children, would be cannibalism, which is frowned upon in most societies. And oregano. Boom. Shakalaka. Put a hair more salt in that. Okay. Got your seasonings right there on top of all the good stuff. Hey, we got 27 people here. If you have no idea who I am, 12C Conditioning, and do a lot of very eclectic videos. It's based off of the 12 C's of survival. That last C is conditioning. It means that you practice with your stuff. You go and you do things. I have a lot of push-up videos. I have a lot of Bible videos. I have a lot of just very random eclectic content. If you like YouTubers who are new and trying to figure out what they're actually doing, that's me. One of the 12 C's of survival is calories, and we're working on those. In there, we've got pizza that is being made, working on the crust, sauce, and cheese, and it is a meat-based pizza crust is what we're doing right now. So, showing you guys the sauce. Audio cut out, so I had to do a new live stream. All right, let's plug this hand blender in. Let you guys hear that sound. All right, stick that in, kind of give it a pre-mix, and boom. Basically, we're just taking those diced tomatoes and we're turning them into an actual sauce. There you go. And there is your pizza sauce. All right. So we got 10 minutes left. Gonna do a little bit. Some of you who have joined us, there's your pizza sauce all mixed up. Good to go. here, let's walk and talk for a minute. All right. There is the crust. All that goodness in there. Anyway, so while we're waiting for another 10 minutes, we're just gonna, yes, I know my kitchen needs cleaning, working on it. All right, I'm gonna kind of do future me a favor. Yeah, we're back down to, oh, hey, a whole bunch of people just like jumped on for some reason. I don't know why, but if you've just joined us, we're making some meat crust pizza. Yes, the crust will be meat. All the good stuff. 12C conditioning. I do a lot of very eclectic videos. You are welcome to stick around and find out how eclectic some of those. Why are there 12 C's? Well, 12 C's of survival. The 12th one is conditioning. It means practice. You do your stuff. You work out. You read your Bible. You try a whole lot. You fail a whole lot. You keep going. That's just what we do around here. One of those 12 C's of survival is calories. So, from time to time, I show you guys some recipes that I do. I'm gonna have to do like a whole recipe playlist because, let's see, we've done pancakes, we've done a bunch of grilling, and a few other things. So, just trying to give you guys some high protein options. Anyway, let's clean some of this up. Put some things away where they belong. You should recycle those cans. Don't care. All right. Boom goes the dynamite. Actually get some soap on there. Clean that counter just a little bit. Wax on, wax off. Breathe, don't forget to breathe. Breathing, very important. All right. We got 6 minutes left before we can start making a pizza. Mamma mia, it's a spicy pizza pie. All right, there's that, which makes life nice. Let's walk and talk for a minute. Why are you doing so much walking and talking? Because I'm trying to kind of tidy my kitchen just a little bit. That way, start off the week with the best basic reset that I can. Walk and talk. Don't trip over anything. Walking backwards is a horrible idea when you can't see what's what. Yeah, I know. It's part of it. Boom. All right. Let's clean this. The question is why are you watching a guy clean his kitchen? I don't know. But whenever Martha Stewart makes stuff, you don't really ever see her cleaning her kitchen. So, for what that's worth. I just love those memes where it's Snoop Dogg and Martha Stewart. And the meme is like, one of these two people has been to prison. And it wasn't Snoop Dogg. So, yeah, because she went to jail for insider trading. Look at that. All right, let's grab this scraper and see if I can get some of that. There we go. Made pancakes, eggs, all that good stuff on this griddle, and it didn't get cleaned in time for Shabbat, so making up for lost time. But those pancakes were really good because they were the high protein ones that I've made before. All right. You can make high protein pancakes? Sure can. It's in one of the live streams that I've done in the past, and it's in the title. You'll know which one it is. Just go to my backlog content and use Jocko protein powder as a flour substitute for some of the flour, and they're really good pancakes. Fluffy, they're yummy. There's no added sugar in them, and the vanilla from the Jocko protein powder just sends it over the edge. All right, there is that. Let's try this. Let's see, where are we at? Got one person watching, and that's fine. Maybe everyone went to go watch the pancake video because they don't want to see a guy clean his kitchen. I don't know, but that's okay. All right, here's the real question. Does me turning away drop the audio? I don't know. Let's walk and talk for a minute. Is my audio still good, or are you guys just getting shaky cam footage of me with wondering what's what? Because my little green light is on, so I assume audio's good. Ah! Audio was still clear. Okay, good. Had me freaking out for about 30 seconds. Like, ah! Okay. I had some friends come over and they were like, oh, you still put that thing in the box. It's like, yeah, it's the most convenient way to store it. So, boom, griddle goes in the box, and it has nothing to do with what we're doing today. I'm just cleaning up because I want to. All right, got 1 minute and 45 seconds till some pizza crust. I'll stuff you all in the crust. Comes out. All right. Well, it would probably help if that went back in the box. It needs to, because we're in the bloopers and outtakes section of what we're doing today. And let's go over here. The dynamite. All right. Our griddle has its own permanent placement on a tabletop that is sanded and with 220 fine grit. That is pretty cool. I have an outdoor griddle and I have an indoor griddle, so for what it's worth. All right, that's about to come out of the oven. Oh, if I was smart, I will do this so you can see. Boom. And let's put that right there. All right, 15 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Out. Okay. That comes out. That comes out. That goes in. That goes back in. And bake again. All right, so you'll notice that has shrunk a little bit. That is okay. This is by design. Shrunk a little bit. Used to not do that, but it's there. All right, so let's set some of these out. Okay. This will go back on the pan, but there's that. Okay. So now we are in hangout territory for a few minutes. So I like letting these sit for a little while before I top them. All right. Let's hang out for a little bit. All right. Let's see, it's 10 o'clock. That's still going for about 20 minutes. So if I was smart, I would just top those, and then from there I would put those in for the 8 minutes that's left, and then I would have an edible pizza to show you. But kind of wanted to hang out a little bit anyway. So let's see. All right. My brother is friends with a reformed cannibal. I got my wife a battery-powered immersion blender, best gift ever. Yeah, so those battery-powered ones are pretty cool. We don't use our immersion blender as frequently. I say about 90% of its use gets when I'm making either pizza or spaghetti sauce. Every once in a while, like, we'll mix up some peanut butter on it, but you know, it is what it is. What are we making, little bro? So Puffin' Loud, I don't know if you're still here, but this is a meat crust pizza. Sounds so good, homemade, yeah. Now, I just want a burger. So burger's great. I've actually turned this chicken crust into like chicken burgers before, and it's turned out really good. Thanks, Guy, for telling Puffin that he was getting some meat crust pizza. Puffin, if you're watching at all, you're just making me think of HR Puffin stuff now for some reason, because he's your friend when things get rough. Oh, that sounds good, bro. Buffalo Wild Wings mango habanero sauce is so good on pizza. I would agree. That mango habanero sauce it's got more than mangoes and habanero in it. That's the problem. If you're like, there's so many additives in it, and there's dyes, and it's like, But conditioning, calories, container, casualty care, cover, combat, cutting tool, cordage, combustion, candle, compass, and camo. Yeah, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. Thanks, Kermode, for throwing all 12 of those C's in there. And, you know, a lot of guys have joked about, like, what are we going to do for the 13th C's and all that. You know, it's whatever. Guy says a laughing emoji and LOL. Kermode had to throw someone under the bus. Not everyone got run over. Yeah, you know, it is what it is. Thanks, Kermode. Thanks. Just add some blueberries in them pancakes. Yeah, the kids like blueberry pancakes pretty frequently. Zach, you need to go find someone else if you think that I'm handsome, because no. Good, the audio was still clear. Audio is still 5x5, not enough to be relevant. Both cool. Okay. Griddle has a permanent, already read that one. Missed it, but what's the crust made out of? All right, so Land Thrasher, I guess is how you say your name. The crust is ground chicken, and it's for every 1 pound of the ground meat. I do either ground chicken or ground turkey, and the ground chicken I think has the best flavor. So you do ground chicken and then 1 egg per pound of meat. I'm using 3 pounds of ground chicken, so I'm doing 3 eggs. You do about 8 ounces of the same cheese that you're going to top the pizza with, and then all of the same seasonings minus the honey that were on the pizza sauce. So I use salt, pepper, garlic, onion, oregano, and cumin. And you just do an appropriate amount of seasoning for each of those things. And you know, you can get all scientific with it, but realistically, you just do, you know, 1 egg per 1 pound of meat, 8 ounces of cheese, spread out for, you know, 3 pizza, or spread out for 3 pounds of meat. So 2.5 ounces of shredded cheese for every 1 pound of meat, give or take. I mean, if you round up to 3, it's cool. This is not precise cooking, but it's a high protein crust. You do it as thin as possible. And what I've done is I lay out the mixture of our basically meatloaf, is what it effectively is. And then I flatten it as best I can, and I use parchment paper to flatten everything. And then from there, I just kind of finish spreading it out with my thumbs, hands on that good stuff. You want it as thin as possible. I'm using an air fryer. This is the Ninja, you know, convection oven air fryer. You can see my garden compost stuff there, and you know, Instant Pot, ring lid, all that good stuff. But anyway, because yeah, you need to be composting. My compost looks like coffee grounds right now, which is awesome. Right in time for gardening season. But anyway, I like the convection oven feature in that. We got rid of our microwave. Our microwave used to be right over there, and we put the convection oven right there because it just didn't fit in the same spot. And ever since doing the convection oven, I have not looked backwards. Like, we rarely use our regular oven now. Like, it is that good. Like, if we ever did a heavy remodel, that convection oven would do about 90% of what we need, because, you know, you can toast with it, you can bake with it. Like, we've baked whole chickens in there. I've spatchcocked chickens and thrown them in there and had no issue. I'm pretty sure my wife did our Thanksgiving turkey in that thing. So it's pretty good for what it is. It's got 4 racks, and it has an air fry feature. If you don't have access to air frying, you just have to do this in the regular oven, then you want to do like 450 for about 30 minutes, give or take 32 minutes, but 25 minutes at 425 on the convection air fry setting is pretty efficient in getting it done. Nice, thank you. Saw a few recipes that use cottage cheese. I have not tried them yet. I want to say we mixed around with a cottage cheese recipe. We've even tried our own like cauliflower crust. Desert Jack, shalom, good to see you. So yeah, like, this is kind of our go-to. Just showing you where we're at. So this is that meat crust. Like I said, ground chicken, cheese, eggs, seasoning. That's it. And it dries and gets relatively crispy. So it's good stuff. All right. So we've got about 16 minutes. Let's do some Q&A, because we're here. All right. Boom, shakalaka laka. Yeah, like I said, let's do some Q&A. We can. Yours sounds better. Yeah, well, thanks. I appreciate that. This is a pretty good crowd pleaser, I think, of a pizza. The cauliflower crust, you just taste it. There's just not really a nice way around it. So anyway, let's do some round robin Q&A stuff. Just I'll talk while you guys populate. I've been trying to do 75 hard. This last go round, I've done it successfully many times before. I'm in a job transition where I've gone from night shift back to day shift. And excuses are lies, but figuring my schedule out is very, very different. So just got a text question from somebody. I want to know what my shirt says. So this is a shirt from my previous job. This is AMS. It was Airline Maintenance Services. I used to be an aircraft mechanic, and my license is still valid, but I don't do that anymore. I typically don't talk about my current job on camera, but this was a company that did contract work for an airliner, and it was a lot of cool stuff. I've got this same logo just big on the back. So you'll see me in these shirts more. You'll see another t-shirt that I wear very frequently because I just have so many of them of a previous job that I had, where it's just got some, just big writings on it. And that was from a gun shop that I used to work at. But I've done many, many different types of jobs. I have owned my own lawn care business. I have worked at an amusement park. I have, I worked in a frozen yogurt shop. I was a youth minister at a Baptist church for a little while. I was an RA in college. I've done, I worked in the oil field for a while. I've worked in several aviation settings. I sold insurance for a very large insurance company. And I did that to put it on a resume. I went in saying, hey, look, I'm waiting on another job to open up. And that was something that was, the insurance agent knew what it was. And he's like, I just need someone to fill a spot for a couple of months. And that's, I helped him out. He helped me out. It was good. So I sold insurance for a couple of months. And then those of you who know what my first name is will get a really big kick out of what company that I worked for. And I probably just doxed myself on that. But anyway, so I worked in some more aviation settings. And then I stepped away from that for a little while, worked at Dick's Sporting Goods, and then immediately, very quickly afterwards, jumped into selling for a private gun shop. Really enjoyed that job. It was a lot of fun. And then I went to go work for the Department of Corrections, and I was a case manager in the Department of Corrections. And then I also moonlit on the emergency response team for that. So I got to do the kind of the heart and the fist of that. To quote our former governor, Eric Greitens, he had a book called The Heart and the Fist. Velvet glove, iron fist. And I was in charge of the dog training program for the offenders inside of the correctional facility. And it was a level 5 Supermax. And to have dudes who were on death row, basically. I had one dude who he had argued himself off of death row, like just handwritten briefs, who was one of my dog handlers. And I even had a lot of guys who were life without. And to see them, like many of them vicious murderers, open up and work with dogs, it was super cool because they got to process and explore some emotions that they hadn't been through in a very long time, and to feel unconditional love from something for the very first time in their life was really, really cool to see. And I have several of them who are actually out now. And that really shifted a lot of my paradigms on the criminal justice system. I've met some people who are horrific people and need to stay locked up forever, bury them under the prison, throw away the key, like burn it down on top of them, like all the way. And then I've met some people who are charged with some really horrible crimes that they 100% did, and I'd take them as next door neighbors. So it's a dichotomy, it really is. And then I went to go do some more corrections things in a different office environment, and then I left from that to go to this job doing aviation stuff, and now I'm not doing that anymore. I'm just in a different maintenance environment doing different things. And like I said, I don't like to talk about current jobs on camera. And for those of you who are wondering, why don't you talk about your current job while you're on camera? I can never get in trouble for complaining about work if I don't talk about my current job on camera. So I can't, Susie said X, Y, Z, and HR and all that. Can't get in trouble for that if I don't talk about it. So, once I'm not in that job anymore, fair game. I'll talk about it as long as I'm not, giving away like trade secrets or, just something that doesn't need to be publicly shared. But in general, that is what it is. One of you in the text chat just asked what Mrs. 12th C is doing. Right now, I think Mrs. 12th C is getting some well-earned sleep because she's a full-time mom, and I think, she was just like, hey, if you're gonna live stream, I've got a couple of things I want to piddle around the house and do, and then I think she was gonna go to bed. So I'm gonna want to go to bed fairly soon anyway. I've got another 8.5 minutes on that, and then you need to top these, and then 8 minutes for that set, 8 minutes for that set. So I will get to eat some pizza in about, 20 minutes, and finish up the last little bit of that pizza shortly after. So you guys got me for a little bit. Let's do some Q&A. You guys should have been throwing in some more questions while I was basically giving my resume. Handsome, more like an egg with a beard. That is a description right there, Kermode. Guy, doggos and horseback riding are good for that. Yeah, so elaborating a little bit more on dogs and horses for bringing out things in people that they didn't really know that they had the ability to. I used to really kind of scuff at equestrian therapy until I saw how much it truly benefited somebody in my life. And it was like, oh wow, this actually is, and whoever would have thought that primal things that have been part of our, shared collective for the last 5,000 years, spending time with animals actually really does bring out a lot in people. And that, to see that level of change in somebody is super, super cool. Let's see. Yeah, what do you guys want to know about? I just shared a whole bunch of job history. So maybe if you guys want to ask anything about a lawn care business or selling yogurt in a yogurt shop, working for the corrections department and doing, social work for them, also wrapping people up in pretzels and tossing them in, places where they can't hurt themselves and other people. If y'all want to talk about, used to work at a gun shop, sold a lot of guns. And it was kind of cool because we actually got our international sales approval from the feds on that one. And so I could technically say that we were international arms dealers when I was working for them, which was super cool. And, nothing special. We helped the dude who used to live in Canada get his stuff stateside. That was what we were applying for that paperwork for. It was a guy who just spent a ton of money with us, and he's like, hey, I've got about 14 things that are in a collection back in Canada that I want to get here in the US, and they're, I could go buy exact copies of these things, but they're sentimental because they were my dad's and they're mine now, and I want them here. And it's like, dude, that's cool, but you're going to spend more than what they're worth getting them here. But it was no big deal. So yeah, we could technically say that we were international arms dealers on that. If you want to know about what it's like to be an aircraft mechanic, I'll talk about that now. If y'all, you know, any of the fun job, oil field stuff, man, have I got some oil field stories. So Kermode, I've been rucking 2 miles 3 to 4 times a week with 30 to 50 pounds. Ruck, is there anything you're doing to prepare for the refuge ruckus? So I'm rucking minimum twice a week, minimum. I'm trying to get more than that in there. I'm doing 50 pounds. I really should practice with a little bit more weight, but that's probably what these next couple of weeks are going to come out to, is just practicing with as much weight as I comfortably can practice with. I have rucked 125 pounds. It's not not pleasant, but I've done it. I've done fireman carries with my ruck on, and then a guy who weighs 140 pounds and his 60-pound ruck. That was not fun, but it's doable. I do have a sandbag that I sometimes throw on top of my my ruck, and I'll work with that, and that may come into the ruckus with me. I haven't 100% decided on that. How is 75 hard going for you in reference to your weight goals? So I've failed 75 hard again, is what it is. I'm mostly just maintaining good habits right now. That's I'm working out 6 days a week. I am not eating junk. I'm trying to minimum get a gallon of water a day. I don't always hit my reading goals, but it is what it is. Like, so I'm doing good habits, but 75 hard is kind of on pause right now until I really get my schedule figured out more than anything else. But as far as like weight loss goals, I'm within 5 pounds of the weight that I am okay with. Do I want to lose a little bit more? Yeah, maybe. Realistically, what I'm more after is fat loss than weight loss, and that just comes from building muscle, moving my body, getting enough sleep, and which I'm actually getting sleep now because I'm not working nights anymore. And then, yeah, just making sure that I'm not eating junk. So, can you build your own aircraft now legally? And if so, how would you go about getting it in the air, licensing and regulation considerations? All right, so here is something that may wow you as far as the legality that comes into building airplanes. If the aircraft is under, I want to say like 250 pounds, don't 100% quote me on the weight, but if it is under a particular weight, carries 2 people or less, has a top speed of like under, I don't remember the specific speed, but it's like under 140 miles an hour. I think it's like 134, 35, something like that. Has a limit on the horsepower of the engine that's on it. It's like, I think it's like 100 horsepower, like 95 horsepower, something like that. You can build it in your backyard or in your barn or in your garage or whatever with no license. And you can fly it with no license. And like, there is minimal registration on it. They recommend that you register it, but you can fly it just about wherever you want to go. You can crash it into anything, and it's treated like a car crash. You go above that weight, you go above that speed, you go above that horsepower, you carry more than 2 people, and you get into the legalities like that really start mattering. You want to be crazy. You want to be crazy. You can buy a parachute on eBay, pack it yourself, and your buddy who built his airplane in his garage can fly you up. And as long as no money trades hands, doesn't mean you can't buy him lunch later, but as long as no money trades hands, you can parachute out of his little 200-pound airplane into Farmer Brown's field during daylight hours. And there's like 4 rules. 4 or 5 that actually govern you in doing that. And most of it is money can't change hands and you guys got to be safe when you do it. And it's defined safe. When you're under certain levels of power, when you are under certain speeds, when you are in relatively unpopulated areas, you would be surprised how few laws actually govern the aviation world. Once you start trading money between, you know, individuals, once you start going fast, once you start going heavy, once you start carrying people that are, you know, paying passengers, that's when you get into the really, like, so many crazy regulations. But if I was to build an airplane, I would be as unregulated as possible. And so I'd build it light, I'd build it slow, and I would build it to where it couldn't carry very many people. Do people build airplanes that are heavier, faster than that, and they claim they're lighter? You better believe it, because it's the same thing as people who get, you know, 290cc mopeds and they slap a 50cc or a 49.5cc placard on it and they hope that they don't get caught. It's the same mentality. Anyway, pizza's out. Let's make some more pizza here. All right. Okay, if we get to work on plane designs, when do we get to work on plane designs? We can talk about that later. Anyway, let's go not burn my hand when I pull these out. Stick that up here for right now. All right. And that one's not going to burn me. If I was smart, would have been doing this a minute ago. I'm gonna put some sauce on that, and that's probably too much, but it's still going to taste good. All right, topped sauce on that. Boom goes the dinamite. All right. Those are there. Top it with a liberal amount of cheese. All right, boom, boom, boom. And while you're watching me do this, more questions should populate the chat because that will give us something to talk about for 8 minutes while these are cooking. Ah! There. And I'll run that time down. 425 air fry for 8 minutes. Okay, is audio still good? Is audio still good? Are we 5x5 still? Yes, no, maybe so. I'm all out of questions, bud. Sorry. I'm all out of love. And I actually have to go. I hope you enjoy the pizza and have a wonderful night's sleep. It was great to catch up with you. Thanks. Been meaning to ask for a while. What's it like being bald? Yeah, so shaved my head, what, 3 years ago now? Something like that, I think. Didn't think I was gonna like it. I really didn't think that it was going to be something like, I was just curious to try it. And so took it off. And I like it. My wife likes it. And it fits my head more than I thought it was going to. It's cold in the winter. It is really cold in the winter. But like summertime, it's great until like you're peeling on your scalp. That's the only like true negative. And since I was working nights the last 2 years, like it wasn't that bad. So now that I've got a day job again, we're going to find out about scalp peeling this summer. But you know, that's what, you know, hats and tallow are for, aloe vera, all that good stuff. So it's not the end of the world. Hats fit differently. If you know, are unshaven for a couple of days where you got the stubble like what I've got right now, hats really fit weird then. I try to shave my head 3 times a week. It usually ends up being 2 times a week. I've got a scalp shaver that sometimes I use all the time, sometimes I don't. You know, sometimes I just take the Bic and if you buy a scalp shaver, I wouldn't spend less than $50. I would shoot for that like $65 to $90 range. More blades is better, so I wouldn't buy one of the 3-bladed ones. Mine's 5-blade. And when you buy the scalp shaver, buy the extra blades specifically for it then and there. So I would get, if you take care of it, if you rinse everything out and you properly dry it, and you throw a little bit of like an appropriate oil, so like coconut oil on it or whatever, every so often, if you appropriately take care of those blades on a scalp shaver, you will get about a year before you really start noticing that like it's just not cutting like it used to. So I would buy like 3 to 5 replacements for that shaver right then and there, and like just the whole cartridge, just snap the new thing on it. So like realistically, you're looking at about $150 to $200. But that will last you for the life of the scalp shaver, which is about 5 years for a good one. Because you're not going to buy the blades right away, and then in about a year when you're scrounging for the new ones, you're going to try to buy the right blades, and like all of them are so similar, even from the same companies, that you're going to buy the wrong blades, and then you try to snap it, and it doesn't actually go in. My hairline is receding, definitely considering it in the future. So Guy, what I remember of you, you've got the head to be bald, whether you think you do or not. So I would just shave it when you're ready. About half the guys I know who have shaved their heads, their wives love it. And about the other half, their wives hate it. So just try it sometime, and you know, just go. Your wife's the one who's going to be looking at it, like, because you're not looking at your face all the time unless you're making a ton of YouTube videos. Yeah, beanies, ball caps. People stop asking you if you got a haircut. So, I mean, they'll ask you all the time when you go bald the first go round, and I see you for that. But after that, you know, you're at work, and then everybody's like, "Oh, hey, Jim Bob, did you get a haircut last week?" You're like, "It looks great." They stop asking you that after a while. So it's like, yeah, I shaved it this morning. No duh. Took a little off the top. But yeah, that's what I notice. I like it more than I thought I would. Like I thought I was just going to grow it back. And I think the longest I've gone without shaving it has been like 10 days. And yeah, usually it's just, you know, every 2 to 4 days cutting it down again. And that seems to be about the sweet spot, is right around that 3-day mark. You're like, it's time to cut this off again. So I didn't like how thin it was getting. And it, you know, you don't notice it when it's real short. But when when it's long enough to grab, like you could see that it was getting thin up top. And so I was just like, yeah, we're just taking this off. And allegedly it boosts testosterone. I don't know, maybe. But yeah, it's a solar panel on top of your head now. So you can just get all that good stuff. Yeah. We've got 2 minutes and then that pizza will pop out of the oven. So I might as well actually start topping the next one. That way it's ready to go. Boom, boom, boom. All right. This one and this one. There we go. That can go in there. And eat the sauce. That's good sauce. Put some cheese on that. Boom. Probably put too much cheese on those other ones, but that's okay. All right, let's pull these out. Boom. There's one cooked pizza pie. One cooked pizza pie. Boom. 8 minutes. And then and look at that. That's almost clean enough to put back. So that one's almost clean enough to put back. Just really cuts down on cleanup time. So makes the life very nice. There. Just ASMR you guys out of the way. Boom. Ah, my ears. Yeah. Anyway, so that, let's cool this off just a little bit. Show the camera all that Goodness. We'll cut it, dig into something that's edible. Open the dishwasher so that way I can get an implement to cut the pizza with. All right. Let's see. Paper Crackle. Have you read How to Influence People and Win Friends, Dale Carnegie? Yeah, I have read that book. It's all right. I think it is a worthwhile read, specifically like people who are less social. I think that is a really, really good read. If you're in a sales position, I think it is a must read. I think if you are in any like public speaking role, it's a very, very good read for people. I don't much care for, what's that other book? The other book that like everybody tells you to read, that they wrote forever ago. I'm trying to think. Think and Grow Rich. That's the one. I didn't care for that one like at all. Like that one is a big hullabaloo about basically like mindset and like the power of positive thinking, essentially, and like borderline. What's that? Positive affirmations. Man, I can't think of what's the. It's like a mind over matter thing where like you're gonna influence your surroundings by thinking, and it's like, okay, yeah, cool, go jump off a building and tell yourself you can fly. Like you better build that airplane really fast. But there is like the true factor of like if you have a negative mindset, like you're gonna get negative outcomes. But your brain is only so powerful. You can't make impossible things happen. But you can achieve more than you ever thought was possible by sticking to it, working hard and, having a general good attitude. So, yeah, feel good emotions. Agreed. So pizza, I like rolling it up. This is really great, like really great on a homemade tortilla. We might do those videos at some point, but I'm still trying to perfect homemade tortilla recipe. But yeah, chicken meatloaf is what this comes out to, but it is a really good pizza, and this is just hot, so. But yeah, this is pizza that's so hot right now that, all this is just falling off, but. You let it sit a little while, and it actually gets a little crunchy. And it's really good, like really good. But between this one and the other one, we're an hour and 43 minutes deep into making this. Like I said, I can just crank this out in an hour. But ground chicken, eggs, 1 egg per pound. Shredded cheese, about 8 ounces for 3 pounds worth of chicken, but 2.5 ounces of cheese for every 1 pound of meat. You season with the same seasonings that you're going to make your sauce with. And the seasonings I use: salt, pepper, garlic, onion, cumin, and oregano. Mix all that together, flatten it as thin as you can. Convection oven 425 for 24-25 minutes. Typical oven 450 for about 30 to 32 minutes. Then from there, after it's cooked, come out, sauce. The sauce that goes on it is diced tomatoes, tomato paste, the same seasonings that we already talked about, and then I do a little bit of honey. You emulsion blender that thing up until it's an actual sauce. Sometimes you may need to add just a hair bit of water, depending on context of what's what. But mix that up. Sauce goes on top. More shredded cheese. I like using the Monterey Jack. I think that produces a very, very quality pizza cheese. Way less oily than the mozzarella that people use. And then put that back in at whatever your same temperature was for 8 minutes. Let your cheese melt. And then you sit it out on a rack like what this is doing, and just kind of let it breathe a little bit. Partially to cool, but also it crisps up just a little bit more, and it makes a very nice thin crust pizza. You can, when it is done with its normal baking and you put it back in with sauce and cheese to do the cheese melt thing, you can do a straight rack on that. I just don't have a fine enough mesh rack that is in quantity. I only have one, and I'm not doing that for 4. But that makes it like really crispy. So you can do that if you really want to. It's just messier too. I use parchment paper, just makes the cleanup a lot nicer, but I know people who use butcher paper, but to each their own. And that last one just finished up in there, so good to go. Everything's coming out, and final taste, if there are no more questions. Not gonna lie, I'd go way up. When I left for bed, I actually needed that. Peace and blessings to you, fam. Yep. Shalom, Dano. Good. And you have a question. Let's hear it. Well, I ate my pizza. Because this is my dinner, so. I'm just waiting on you, Dano. You send your question and I'll look it over and we'll talk. Revelation 2:9 and 3:9. Who are they? It's a good question. I need to actually pull out a Holly Bibli so that way I can appropriately answer that question. Mr. Owl, how many licks does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Tootsie Pop? Let's find out. All right, Revelation on my wife's iPad. Holly Bibli. I think I know what you're referencing, but I want to be accurate. Let's read this in the English Standard. Go to Revelation. Go to 2, verse 9. Yes, I know, Ethel, it's ready. Let's see, Revelation 2:9. Yeah. I know your tribulation and your poverty, but you are rich, and the slanderer of those who say that they are Jews and they are not, but the synagogue of Satan. So I'm assuming you're talking about those who say that they're Jews and are not, but the synagogue of Satan. And Revelation 3:9. Behold, I will make those of the synagogue of Satan who say that they are Jews but are not, but lie. Behold, I will make them come and bow down before your feet, and they will learn that I have loved you. So, assuming that that's what the specifics that you're talking about of like who are the synagogue of Satan, who are those that say that they're Jews and are not. I've heard a lot of accusations on that thrown around. So the first 7 sections of Revelation that we're talking about, where Yeshua is specifically speaking to those 7 churches. I take those to be that he is actually speaking to those churches right then and there. Doesn't mean that the messages aren't for us too, or for our benefits, but they were not necessarily directed specifically to us. So I would take that those would be more of like the religious Jews who have rejected Messiah. Those are the ones who I would say that they are, because if you go into like Romans 11, Ephesians 2, you're really dealing with like, hey, who's been grafted in, who's not, and remember that the branches from the tree that had been removed, that they can be grafted back into that olive tree, and you can be removed from that olive tree. I would specifically point to that and saying that anybody who thinks that they are following Yahweh, but they're not walking with Messiah, and not actually walking with Messiah. I would also specifically point to those who like, Lord, didn't we, prophesy in your name and we healed all these people and we did all these things, but, all this cool stuff. And it's like, depart from me, bro. I never knew you. I would think that it's that. That's my opinion. Prepared to be wrong on that, prepared to be corrected on that by a brother, but hey, it is what it is. Puff and Loud, yeah, you're asking for a free sample. Well, I've just taught you how to make the pizza, so you go make it yourself. Yeshua Messiah himself is the only way, none other. Agreed. All right, Revelation 14 versus Revelation 12. Yeah, possibly. Sounds like either the lawless or those who deny Messiah. Yeah, say both. Both, if that makes sense. Both is good. I am actually, though, the blood of the patriarchy and matriarchy of the tribe of Judah, and Dan, 4th and 5th sons. Yeah. Cool. All right, cool. So we've been doing this for almost 2 hours now, and I would like to be able to go to bed. This is one of those 4 pizzas between what I was eating earlier and this now. It's good stuff. You should make this pizza. Instead of bread, you have basically meatloaf as your crust, and it's chicken. But it's good stuff. Just in the chicken of one of these 4 that I've made, we're talking, about 60 grams of protein. Then we have the cheese. We split that 4 ways. About 8 ounces of cheese. On one of these pizzas. And then almost a whole egg. So we got about another 60 grams of protein in those things. So that's 120 grams of protein right there. Just in one of those 4 pizzas. And like I said, most of y'all, half of what I just ate is very satisfying. So it's good stuff. Thanks for the pizza dish. Grateful that you're still not gay and full of Yeshua. Bless you, fam. Peace and blessings. All right. Good stuff. Shalom. Go do hard things.